Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. And David, always a pleasure being part of the community. For today, closed captioning. Yep, that's fine. I'm excited to talk about the global trends of obesity and also the healthcare technologies related to that, and kind of put things into context because this is right now, in my mind, this is the silent epidemic that no one is really paying attention to. People kind of know, but because the effects are long term, it's not next Thursday. It's not really capturing people's, attention. I think of it very similar to climate change. Since, the Earth won't turn into Venus next month, people aren't really paying attention. They know it's happening. They can see the effects, but in terms of actually acting upon it with the urgency that's needed, it's just not there. So let me go ahead and dive in. And please, I don't want this to be just a one-way conversation. Please jump in. And looking at you, Wayne, here for your comments, as you always have insights on everything. Cool. So, all right. So here's something that hopefully will grab your attention. Um, Looking at statistics over the past 50 years, uh, obesity has doubled for adults and tripled in children since the 50s. Um, let that sink in for a second. Doubled for adults and tripled for children. Um, in college, when we were studying obesity and diabetes, there wasn't even this thing as diabetes type 2 for kids. Before, diabetes for kids was just type 1. You were born with it, had issues with insulin in your pancreas. But type 2 wasn't a thing, wasn't even in the textbook. But now, a lot of kids are suffering from type 2 diabetes. So, what has happened, right? Now, if we look at things, oh, sorry, go back. We're good. Okay, just move the faces out of the way. So if we look at contributing factors, right, we talked about it a little bit earlier, the increased consumption of processed food. Now, if you look into the history of processed food, a lot of this was actually genius creation during times of war. If you guys, I don't know if you guys know this, a little bit of trivia here. Spam, especially, was created, right, specifically because it can travel far, right? And then it's used, for people who need food on the go, MREs, right? Meals ready to eat. And it wasn't really meant corned beef, spam, all these things. It wasn't really meant for just day-to-day consumption, right? So, but that hasn't gone away. We're not in war times. We're not hiding. We have options, but the increase in processed food is here to stay. So how does that wreak havoc in terms of communities? Well, especially in poorer communities here in the US, unfortunately, unhealthy food, right, is easier to get to than healthy foods. And a lot of these foods are very calorie dense. They're salt dense, sugar dense. So it gets you through the day, but actually, hurts over time. Decrease in physical activity. Let's start with the kids. Before, and you guys can remember this, when we were kids, what's the first thing we do when we wake up on a Saturday or any day that we don't have any classes? We go out and finish the sentence.
Play.
We play. we, we go out and play. We run around, we climb trees, chase people, play play with other folks. Now, when we talk about play, first of all, who in the group has kids? Raise your hand if you have kids. Kids. All right, cool. So when your kids are playing, what does that look like? How about you, Nick? What does your kid playing look like?
So I have three kids, and one of them basically doesn't play. All he does is video games.
Yep.
Um, the other two are very close in age, and so they'll play with each other, which is nice. But they've lately been getting sucked into YouTube also, and that's been very challenging.
And for the two that play with each other,
Yeah.
how much of that includes actual running around outside, chasing each other?
They run around inside a lot, not so
Right.
much outside.
Exactly. So with that before, as we're running around outside, you get vitamin D, you get fresh air,
Yeah.
you interact with nature, all of that, you know, gone. How about you, What how are your
Well,
kids? What was it?
they're yeah, too close in age as well. Like I said, I didn't grow up here, so the
Sure.
physical activity is pretty big for me. Especially being in IT, I think I'm very biased against devices. Living where I live, everybody loves their devices, and my thing is always, have you gone outside today? No? Okay, well, you can't go on your device, so you go outside. And I push them to go, go look for neighbors to play. And, their thing is, Mom, that's weird. And I'm like, well, that's how we all grew up, right? We
Yeah,
were bored. We knocked on the neighbor's door and say, hey, can I play with my
that's
friends?
right.
And
Right.
that's how we all grew up. So why is it weird? Right? But now
Right.
we live in a stage where we all hide behind the screen.
Right.
Me and my husband joke about this all the time. We see two teenagers sitting in the same room and they're texting each other. We're like,
Right.
they're right there. Like, can you not turn your head and like have a conversation? So
Right.
for me, what my family is fairly big about getting outside.
Right. And Wayne, your kids are a little older, right?
Yeah, I have 23, 19, and 15. All
So
three are athletics. I have one that is in Iowa on a volleyball scholarship.
it's
Um,
amazing.
my oldest played soccer, so that was constantly running.
Yeah.
My middle daughter plays volleyball at the collegiate level, and then my youngest one is leaving this weekend for regional tournament in Vegas for volleyball. But look, here's the thing: that their metabolisms, my metabolism when I was younger, different. Metabolism, when you were younger, is different. I think a lot of this is in 1972. We started genetically modifying our food, and so the modifications that we made, you're right, the increased caloric density, but they're empty calories, and our body is not reacting to that very well. And it's
100%.
illegal in other countries to do, so you don't see it from other countries the way you see it here.
Yep. 100%. And with that, crossing over to the adult side, we're all tied to our devices, to our computers, before to our cubicles, now working from home. So the idea of, oh, I have a question, let me walk up to the second floor and find Nick in accounting, that's not a thing anymore, right? Or let me go to Wayne and ask him to grab coffee around the corner. That doesn't happen anymore, right? And even with the nature of work, our meetings are all stacked up. There is no sacred time for lunch, right? How many of us have meetings from 12 to 1? Everyone. So all of these things, right? And now you look at the socioeconomic challenges. Even if you want, even if you are conscious about, what you want to put in your body, what you want to feed your family, there are certain areas, and you see this just driving around, the U.S. When you get to certain areas, it's hard to find a Whole Foods. It's hard to find a Sprouts. It's hard to find areas where they have fresh food. You'll see McDonald's and all the fast foods in every other corner. And it's just hard. If you're, again, working mom, two jobs, it is hard to fit in meals. And this is something that I tell everyone, like when people ask me, like, hey, what should I get to track this, to track that? I'm trying to do this, new amino acids, especially at the gym. Like, hey, what are you using and all? My first question is, how are you sleeping? And they say, the grind, the hustle, maybe 5 hours, maybe 6 hours. And I said, well, you need to fix that first, because if you dive into the effects of sleep deprivation, almost everything is connected to it. Because the first thing that happens to you when you're sleep deprived is inflammation. And if you look at the leading causes of death, heart diseases, stroke, diabetes, one thing they all have in common are inflammatory processes. So before you even start this health journey, the first step, the biggest step, is making sure you improve your sleep. And one of the ways to do that is waking up without an alarm clock, right? One of the most distracting things, aside from my dog trying to get in, is the alarm clock, because it shocks your system, right, in different times of your sleep. You could be in deep sleep, REM sleep, and if that alarm clock, shocks you, what happens is your body is now in a state of fight or flight because you weren't prepared for that. So starting your day that way is very disruptive. So first of all, make sure that you wake up the right time. How do you know that? You don't need an alarm clock. So huge part of the obesity challenge is tied into sleep deprivation. Another one that you see in the US, that you don't see in other countries are portion sizes. As you guys have traveled throughout Europe, and even most parts of Asia, the plates, the tables, everything's small. Here, right? We lived in Mexico for a few years, and the large in Mexico, when you go to like a Dairy Queen, is the small here. Let that sink in, right? The large in Mexico is the small here. So if you're given that much, your natural tendency is try to finish it off. So just simple things like portion sizes makes a huge difference. Now,
Correct you, Ian. We have portion size in the United States, which size up, not size down.
what was it?
It's a competition within restaurants.
Seriously,
Who can have the bigger
up.
plate of food.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And we tried out this new burger joint here just on Postmates, and we ordered I think it's called the Melt. And I kid you not, the burger was about the size of my face. I split it with my wife and we couldn't even finish it. And I'm like, how are people consuming all of this all at once, right? So there's a lot that it's basic stuff that we can improve upon. But again, the market is how can we go bigger? How can we have more flavor? And all of that leads to more salt and sugar and calories.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Speaking of this, okay, since COVID, we got through COVID, everybody was quarantined to their home. My wife and I, we've gained some weight in our running around after the kids or whatever. And I counted, I've got a list somewhere on my desk of the 6 different weight loss boxed food programs that we had shipped to our home. So in 4 years, we had tried 6 different HelloFresh, all of these different, I'm not picking on anybody, but I mean, we tried 6 different Weight Watchers, all of this stuff, and did nothing but gain weight. My wife loves sleep. I abhor it. I hate sleeping. I do not like going to bed and the thought of missing out on whatever happens when the rest of you knuckleheads are sleeping. I can't stand it. Tracy loves it. She can't get enough sleep. That woman would go into a coma and I would kiss her to wake up years later. Okay. Nothing. I don't mean to be, I'm not trying to make a joke of this. It is really why I'm here. That's why everybody's turning to weight loss drugs and medications. that seem to be, this may be a very dark road we're heading down.
Right, right. And actually, I'll talk about that in a few slides and my experience with my primary doctor with that. Um, a lot of what you're talking about, Wayne, has to do with gut bacteria. I don't know if you have looked into this. There's
Yeah.
I'll put it in the chat, and this has changed my life. The company name is Viome, and there's others like it, where they check your gut bacteria. So you send a sample of it, and actually, I'll be right back. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
I have a company that I've just started trying. Can I tell you a very quick story? It's very funny. So I went for a physical on a company that I did some work for. They asked that I go to take this physical. I walk in and there's this very short Chinese doctor, grabs my chart, and he says, "Why are you so fat?" And I was like, look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but that is what he said, and that's what he sounded like to my ears while saying it. And it was like he punched me in the face. I would like to know the answer to that question too, sir. And you're better equipped to tell me why I'm so fat. And I made the mistake of sharing that with my 3 children when I got home, and they ask me that question on a weekly basis now. But it's a very good question we were talking about. Why are we so fat?
Yeah. So we talked about some of the things that just from an environmental perspective, but honing in onto an individual, one of the most fascinating discoveries, I think, around this topic is how our gut bacteria determines so much in our life. It helps process all of the precursors for your neurotransmitters, meaning your dopamine, your serotonin. So what you put in your body first thing in the morning has this cascading effect on you throughout the day, the week, the month, the year. So one of the things that you can do, so the question is, okay, so what's in my gut bacteria, right? So Viome, again, just one of the companies, not endorsing any one of them. What they do is they take a look, okay, so let's look at the ecosystem in your gut, right? And it will tell you, because it's this balance of, you can call it good bacteria and bad bacteria. If you have more of the other, it's not good. Kind of like, having rabbits versus coyotes, that proportion. If you have too many rabbits and less coyotes, then you'll have starting weaker rabbits. Too many coyotes, less rabbits, then, they'll run out of food and start eating each other. So that same ecosystem happens in our gut. Long story very short, you send your sample, they give you a readout, and it tells you these are the things missing in your diet. And from that, they can send you like a supplement list. Like this, based on what you're reading, this is what you need. And then they create like very specific for you, like this one has my name on it, what you need, and also the prebiotics and probiotics that you need specifically for you based on what's in your readout. Now, for me, what has drastically changed is I need like 2 to 3 hours to go from like being just so sluggish and slow and sometimes even depressed in the morning to being functional. So I wake up early, so hopefully by 8 or 9, I'm there. After using this, it has helped me to become, it shortened that time to like 15 to 20 minutes because I first feed my gut bacteria. And that in turn changes, my desire to either want to eat cheeseburgers or like right now, these carrot sticks. So you think that what you're craving is what you're thinking, but in reality, what you're craving is what your gut bacteria is signaling to your brain. And if you dig into the science of that, it is absolutely mind-blowing. So anything and everything starts with your gut bacteria. Another trivial point, your gut has neurons, same thing as your brain. And studies have shown that you have the same amount of neurons in your gut as an average cat. Think about that. So there's so much that goes into your gut in terms of the neurons and also the gut bacteria that literally drives what you're craving for, right? So, Wayne, I highly recommend that you look into this because this has changed my life.
Yeah, I'm
And
gonna take a
also
look.
in the readout, it tells you these are the things that it's not allergic to, but have an intolerance of. So for me, for example, I love tomatoes, especially living in Mexico for a few years. Turns out I'm intolerant to it. So when I dropped it out of my diet for a while, I noticed that I'm not as bloated. And these are things that you can't get from just, those broad strokes health books because they don't know what's in your gut. They don't know, like something like eggplant, for example, super benign, hardly anyone is allergic to it. Turns out I'm intolerant to it. So these are things no one can tell you. So just having that assessment will help you figure out, okay, what do I need to put into my body that I'm missing? And what are the things that I should avoid? Thankfully for me, sweet potatoes is something I can eat, and I love them. White potatoes, I have an intolerance to. So things like that. And that has really changed for me. Now, going back to these are some of the things that we already talked about, like the technological influences, right? Digitalization of work. And more than that, now that we're in this global time zone, my admin is from Nigeria, right? She's actually the one that put this together. She's on a totally different time zone than I am. So I get pings from her at 4 a.m. because she forgot. Right? And so unfortunately, I'm not following my advice of keeping your phone outside of the bedroom when you sleep. So it's right beside me. So when it pings, I wake up. So those are some of the factors that, again, super basic stuff. But as Stephen Covey said, what's easy to do is also easy not to do, right? Putting your phone outside before you sleep is easy to do, but also easy not to do, just bringing it in. Now, if we look at, where we are compared to other countries, it's amazing that we're now, as of 2 years ago, 43, just put it half the population in the US is obese. And overweight, I think it's like 82%, some ridiculous number. And you cannot look at this and say, oh, 130 million Americans are just lazy. Oh, 130 million Americans just don't know what to eat. Oh, 130 million Americans just don't exercise. No, there's something going on. And trying to find things not to put in your body, i.e. corn syrup, i.e. sugar, right? In my case, actually, it's salt. I was gaining so much weight. I was on so many blood pressure medications. I went through dozens upon dozens of doctors. And one endocrinologist looking at everything said, I think you have a problem with salt. Now, here's why no one caught it. My labs were normal. But again, it's normal for general public. It wasn't normal for me. So as soon as I tried to drop salt from my diet as much as possible, now I went from having 6 hypertension medications to 0. I'm now on nothing. And my blood pressure is, 120, 130, but I do need to avoid salt. So that is for me. And I was gaining so much weight. I had like 30 pounds of just water weight because salt retains water. So that's my story. Now, for other folks, it's primarily the corn syrup, it's primarily the sugar, it's primarily all the processed food. Because what happens is when you eat processed food, it hits your body, it doesn't know what to do with it. to protect yourself, fat actually coats it. So a lot of the toxins in your body are stored in the fat. It's a protective mechanism that we have, right? So that's why massive weight loss, like when you have these uh, gastric bypass surgeries and you lose like 100 pounds in like 3 months, it is so bad on the body because you're releasing all the toxins that were stored in your fat cells into your bloodstream all at once. And your liver can't handle it. So you see a lot of people, they start losing their hair, their skin is, really messed up, blurry vision, all these side effects because all that toxin is being thrown into your body. Now, there are some public health initiatives, trying to address these things, but the problem is even in schools, like my two high school girls, I give them snacks to bring to school because the food at schools, they're all processed foods. They all come packaged, right? None of it's fresh. And so and no one really wants to touch these topics because, especially in the US, we have all the lobbyists and no one wants to go against the sugar industry. No one wants to go against the corn industry, the potato industry. So we don't fix it. So trending over time, um, if we go along these rates, we will be in a complete epidemic in terms of obesity, in terms of everything that comes with that. And the complications are, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, cancer. And I don't know if you guys read of this. We are the first generation, or our kids are the first generation where in their life expectancy shorter than ours. Think about that. First time, right? And it's because of what we put in. And that the reason I'm focusing more on this, because for me, the tools are downstream, right? Upstream in this whole process is what you put in your body, how you manage stress, the amount of sleep you get, and the amount of exercise. And it doesn't mean going to the gym. It's going out, moving major muscles and sweating because of that activity. And right now, that's missing. And another factor that not a lot of people talk about is socialization. Part of what triggers your body to store fat is feeling of insecurity. Not insecurity like you're going to speak, at an event, but in terms of not having enough. That fear, like you're not panicking, but you're not at ease, right? When your body is in that state, what does it do? It holds on to calories, right? And part of what makes us at ease is being around people, being around our tribe, being around our clan. And that is almost non-existent, right? If you look at your week, this week is Thursday. How many days did you go out and just hang out with a friend? How many times did you just hug someone, right? That's not in your immediate family to feel that you're part of a group? It's almost non-existent. So a huge part of it is just that societal factor of being around your clan, and we don't have that anymore. So these are things that I wish we talked about more, because that all, if your body is in a state of fear, if your body is in a state of I need to defend myself, if your body is in a state of stress, the tendency of your body is to hold on to calories because you might need it to, run from a tiger, to live through a winter. And unfortunately, our brains haven't evolved to know that that's no longer the case. Now, Wayne, you talked about, you tried all of the different diets and whatnot. Again, it depends upon what is right for you. And the only way to know that is to look at your gut bacteria to see what makes sense for you. I didn't know that I had a severe intolerance to kale. And I was blending this stuff every day, mixing it with oranges. And I didn't know that my body had an inflammatory reaction to kale. So here I am thinking I'm doing the right thing, following the Kardashians, drinking kale, and it was actually hurting me. So that's something new that we now know, but not everyone is using. So we talked about the policies. So technologies, there are a bunch of wearables. As you guys probably have an Apple Watch right now. Um, I, One of my favorite wearables is the Aura Ring. I think it's by the Sync. And it tracks, again, for me, sleep. And in your sleep, it tracks not just how much sleep, but the duration of your deep sleep, right? And that is when your body starts to rejuvenate, to repair, to restore. Because as you guys probably know, there are different cycles in your sleep, and not all of them includes repair and restore. It's only when you get to the deep sleep. And what happens when you get, awakened by, your notifications from Instagram or whatnot, and you wake up and then go back to sleep, you never get to deep sleep. And that is where repair and restore happens. So for me, the Aura Ring, I think, is one of the best things, or not that ring, but anything that traps the levels of your sleep is very helpful. Another thing is the heart variation. Looking at your heart rate in different instances. If you're relaxed, your heart rate should be doing this. If you're stressed, it looks like this. It looks like a saw. So looking at that, the heart rate variations is very important. In terms of trackables, there are now garments that can track, the amount of sweat and all of that. I think they're too new. Digestibles, I'd stay away from them right now. There are things that you can ingest and it gives you a report out. I'd stay away from that. Genomics, though, I think is very interesting. And looking at what your genomes say about you, there's something that David, I think you've tried this. I just got this. This is Meet Yourself. Have you tried this? The swab, did you send your results?
I did.
And what did it say about you? Did it match or?
Yeah, no, it was very accurate. Opened my eyes to some things. I haven't watched the AI report yet, so I need to go in deeper, but I did sit with Dr. Aid to go
Nice.
over it. Yeah.
So I'll put this in the chat. Meet
We're
Yourself.
having the event, we're having a WITI event with him on April 17th.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'll
Please
put that in the chat.
check it out. Meet Yourself.
And
So
have you got the supplements from Viome, by the way?
Yeah, this one. Right
Oh,
here.
so you did get the supplements.
Yep.
Good. Okay.
So and it tells you exactly what's in it and how it matches with your results. So that's very helpful. Gut bacteria we talked about. I want to talk about medication that's out there. So there's a lot of information that you can research, but I want to share with you the conversation I had with my BCP. So I asked her, like, hey, right now I'm training for the half Ironman for San Diego for next year, and I need to lose, based on my tracker, 34 pounds and then gain 20 pounds of muscle to get into my what's called your fighting weight to be able to do it. And so I asked her, so hey, can I be on Ozempic for maybe 6 to 8 weeks, right, to help me lose the 34 pounds, and then you can just cut me off and then I'll start, bulking up. And she said, Ian, I can do that. However, in the past 18 months or so that I've been prescribing this to people, I have 100% failure rate of getting them off it. 100%. Everyone that she's prescribed it to, and not just Ozempic, but that whole class, right? Everyone, after they've lost, 40, 60, 80 pounds, sometimes 100 pounds, they say, I'm good, right? I'm at my ideal weight, I'm good. She weans them off it in 4 to 6 weeks. The weight comes rushing back. And so she said, I wouldn't give it to a family member. But if you want me to write a prescription.
But you, wow.
It,
I mean, that's
it
dark.
scared me. Scared me. Hundreds of patients, zero success rate of taking them off. So basically, once you start, that's it. You're on it. And so I would be very careful starting any sort of weight loss regimen right now, because what it does, it tricks your brain and makes you feel like you're full. So you eat less because that signal to your brain, like, hey, Ian, you're hungry, eat now, it blocks it. So your gut is trying to tell your brain you're hungry, but there's someone there that's saying, nope, not right now. And naturally, you lose weight because you're kind of in this intermittent fasting stage, right? Because you're not hungry. So you're losing weight.
Did
But
she say, I'm sorry, did
Go
she
for it.
say what happens when you get to a certain point? Because, ideally, right, only makes sense that if you use Monturo, Ozempic,
Sure.
any of these, drugs, you get to a point where you've lost all the weight that you can afford to lose.
Yeah.
And yet you still have to be, I mean, what do they do? Take a break from the medication? What happens?
So what happens is it's similar to you holding your breath underwater. After a certain point, your brain is switched on to, I need to breathe. So same thing with your body weight. We all have this like normal basal rate. When you hit that rate, your body switches. Now it goes into I need to conserve mode. So even if you have that, your body goes like, I need more fat, right? Not muscle, fat. So that's why people, you don't see them malnourished, dead on the sidewalk because they've been on Ozempic
So
for a year.
someone that has an eating disorder is missing that, or their mental condition overrides that.
Correct.
Brain function that prevents them from getting too low of a weight.
Yep, exactly. Because it's the same thing with holding your breath, right? Even if you want to stay underwater, your body will push you up so you can breathe.
Right.
It's the same thing with weight.
Interesting how, I hate to say what I'm about to say, but it's such an American way. We're very quick to put a Band-Aid on, what pill can I take, what shake can I drink, and, refer back to your point, Wayne, want a weight loss, what box prep food I can get in the mail, right?
Right.
Rather than, it takes time to eat healthy. I do a lot of it at our household, and a lot of people I talk to are like, A, we can't afford to eat healthy because vegetables actually cost more than chicken nuggets, as sad as it sounds.
Yep.
And B, nobody has the time because nobody, want to skip a beat like Wayne over there, right? We need to stay tuned and honed in on what's happening on the internet 24/7, right? But
I keep looking for this sedentary lifestyle that supposedly I get to enjoy. I'm 56, so at what point do I get to stop moving? I'm looking forward to that. So if you guys could point me to the line of people that aren't going anywhere or doing anything. I'm not running marathons, but I didn't do that when I was in my 20s either.
Right.
But I just keep getting, people feel the need to tell me how fat I'm getting, you know what I mean? Including my own doctors.
Yeah, gut bacteria, Wayne. Try it in 90 days.
I was just showing you. I've got a different, thing, and I'm one of those people. I'm very slow. It horrifies me that people are sending samples of their DNA everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, my app, the Melody Clouds, we don't even offer any of your information at any point to anybody and blocks other people from getting your information. I'm very weird when it comes to, you know, just going, hey, why don't you take a sample of my DNA and tell me
Right.
what you think?
Yeah.
Nah, you know, that ain't happening.
Yeah,
But
it's definitely a gamble for sure. Um, and you know, for me, when we went to Mexico, something just didn't click, and I didn't know it was tomatoes. And if Mexico's cuisine can be defined by one word, it's
yeah.
tomato. So that made me so sick, and none of the doctors could figure it out. So, um, now one thing that I would like to talk about before we go is with all of these metrics, you know, the guys at the gym, they're timing when they're taking their amino acids, they're timing when they're, you know, I'm in muscle recovery now, so I'm taking this other shake. The stress that people put upon themselves to follow these intense schedules and regimens and whatnot is causing your body to store more fat. Because again, going back to what we talked about, if your body feels insecure, it will store fat, period. It's only when you're relaxed that your body can literally start to let go because you're in a state of safety, right? I'm safe. I don't need to store. I can let go. So one thing we didn't include here is meditation. That really helps. It's really hard though. I don't know how many of you guys meditate every day or a few times a week.
No.
It is it's hard to stop and just watch your thoughts go by. And one of the things that meditation offers, and we'd love to get your thoughts here, is you get to a point that even the thought of hunger, um, if you can separate yourself from it, then you can say, huh, maybe I'm just thirsty. Because in your brain, I don't know if you guys know this, the receptors for thirst and hunger are so close to each other that a lot of times what we perceive as hunger is actually thirst. So, what I tell folks is if you feel hungry, drink a glass of water first. Wait a few minutes. See if you still have the sensation, the urge. Because a lot of times it's thirst, not hunger. Now, when you quench that with these drinks with 38 grams of sugar, you're even more thirsty because sugar makes you thirsty. So, but anyway, I'd love to stop there. And if let me throw my email in the chat. Um, if you guys are interested in specific wearables, trackables, what you know, genomic companies out there help with gut bacteria. We didn't get to talk about IV treatments. I'm currently using glutathione IV. It's helping me in particular, but you have to, you know, see if it works for you. I'm doing NAD treatments. That has helped me with my lab works and whatnot. But again, you have to look at what works for you. Try it out and see see how it works. And these are things that are natural in your body, right? Like NAD is from vitamin B6 and glutathione is something that you already have. But let me stop there because I know that David has HAL 9000 and wanna give a few minutes for open discussion. First of all, was this helpful for you guys? Was
100%.
hopefully you picked something up?
Definitely.